It's the same old thing as yesterday.
Welcome to the House of Pain, brought to you by the ARP Wave Clinic. Now, along with Dennis Thompson, here's your host, the common man, Dan Cole.
Greetings and good morning. Welcome to the fourth installment of the House of Pain. I'm the common man, Dan Cole, your host, along with Dennis Thompson, who is the founder of ARP Wave and the ARP Wave Clinic. And good to see you again, Dennis. Good morning.
Good seeing you, Common.
Well, here we are on our fourth show. We've really made some strides. We've had a lot of people respond via email to you, call your office, saying, how can ARP Wave help me? Can it help me? How can it help me? And where do I go from here? For those that have heard the show, we're gonna go over a little bit of the information we have before. But for first-time listeners, let's just start with by asking you, what is the ARP Wave System, ARP Wave System, and why is it different than traditional therapy when it comes to injury and helping people's quality of life?
Well, typically, Common, the system is based on a very simple premise that all injury happens for one reason, and that's an inability to absorb force. And so what happens is where you have pain is where the problem ended up, not where it came from. So if you have joint pain, it's not the joint that's the problem, it's the muscle that's the problem. And so what we do is we created a three-part system that a patient goes through. And the first thing that we do is identify, is the nervous system sending the appropriate electrical signal to the muscles to where they can turn on fast enough to absorb force. If they're not, you're going to get hurt. Just that simple. Step two is, if the muscles haven't been working, there's probably a considerable amount of damage caused to the joint or other tissue because that force has been going into that tissue that's not designed to absorb the force. So in the second section of our system, we get rid of that damage. We break down the inflammation, we increase the range of motion, and we get rid of the pain. The third session, part of our session, is regaining the strength. And that's basically where you're at right now. And you found out very, very soon how critical that aspect is.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't regain the strength that you've lost, then again, you still cannot absorb force. And so you're going to have the same issues, much lower in intensity. Let's say you had pain of 8 or 9, and now you're at pain of 2 or 3, but you still feel it. And the whole idea is not to feel that pain. So our system is built on a very, very structured manner in which you go through those 3 steps, and we literally guarantee those results.
Now, would you classify yourself as like a physical therapist or physical therapy? How do you fall into that category?
Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, we work with physical therapists all over the world. I like to think of us as a bridge. We are not and do not require a physical therapy license to do what we do. We're a bridge. Before you take medication, before you go to physical therapy, you would come to us, and what we would then do is, again, go through that 3-part system. And so now when we send you to physical therapy, you're much better prepared to achieve the results that you want to through physical therapy than you ever would be before.
Explain to the listener what ARP Wave System actually is, what you do once you determine where the injury, here's the injury, here's where it started, this is why your pain's there. It's sort of, I always describe it to people when they ask me about it, it looks like almost a car battery charger kind of a box. It's got dials on it and such like that, and you have cables. If you could just explain to people what it really is.
Sure. Typically, the first thing we do is we do a technique that's called muscle testing. If you remember, we had you come in, and I think of muscle testing as a very, very inexpensive electromyograph. An electromyograph is a very sophisticated medical test to determine is the nervous system working correctly. But the muscles are the outward expression of the nervous system. So we test the muscle to see if it is turning on fast enough with just light amount of force. And if it isn't, if you recall in your case, it wasn't. And then I said, okay, now we have to have the doctor turn that switch back on. And so then you went to the doctor, and we had the doctor turn that switch back on. Then you came to me and you said, look, the pain is right here in my elbow, and I've been doing rest, ice, compression, I've been doing all these things. And I told you point blank, that is where the problem ended. That is not where it's coming from.
Correct.
So then we took the ARP and we identified by moving the electrodes around till we got to a point where we call it a trigger point. We found the trigger point that was causing the pain. And then we began working on that trigger point to get rid of the pain, and now you're in step 3.
What if the listeners cannot come to the clinic? Like I was able to come down to the clinic. Can you still help them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We've created a unique process by which we have a team that we call the ARP Squad, where we could come right here into the studio and treat you, or we could come into your office, or we could come into your home. And if that's something that doesn't work for you because of timing issues, we can treat you right over a webcam, right on your internet. So there's many, many ways that we can help, and we treat people. We have 7 treatments scheduled today, and 2 of them are out of the country.
So the ARP Squad, so they just help people along with solving the problem.
Absolutely. They go to them. So say you live in Duluth and you don't want to drive to Burnsville, we'll send the ARP Squad up to you. We'll treat you in your own home. It takes 15 to 20 minutes, and they come in 10 days in a row, and the problem's solved. And then we leave the ARP, just like you have with you now, we leave the ARP with them for 30 days, and they do their therapeutic exercise on their own.
I've been able to work closely with you and get advice from you. It's interesting how we can tweak the treatment ever so slightly here and there to make it work to its optimal ability. I said, you said, back down on this a little bit. We backed down, and boom, it worked wonders.
Exactly. And you never know because everybody's different. And we're looking for, if you fit into this box, in other words, if you say these things, then we know that we're on the right track. If you say the wrong things, we also know that we need to make a modification. So if you come in at a pain of 10 on one day and you come in at 8 the next day and 10 the next day, well, we know that you came back at 10, that something went wrong. So either you did not recover from the treatment, didn't have enough food or fuel in your system, or we overdid it or underdid it, and we make that adjustment. So it's not, you don't have to wait 30 days to 40 days to find out if we made an adjustment. We'll make an adjustment that day.
What are some of the things? Mine was what we call golfer's elbow. I had tendonitis in my elbow. Sprained ankles, hips. What kind of things can you help people with?
Typically, I believe all injury is basically an inability of the muscle to absorb force. So therefore, there's nothing that we cannot work on. If you're in pain, you're getting a signal from your muscles that they are not absorbing force and they're protecting you. So if you have pain, we can work on you. It's just that simple. And we're not going to change a disease, or we're not going to change a tear or anything like that. What we're going to change is the origin of the signal that's sending the pain.
For folks that would like to give ARP a whirl, that would like to see if you can help them, you have a special offer for our listeners, right?
We do. The special offer that we have right now is, because we've had such tremendous success from the show, is that anybody that's listening and they want to know, can we help them? And there's always that doubt, what's it going to cost me if just to find out if you can help us. We're offering this. They can come into the clinic, or we can do it over the internet, or we can do it over the telephone. We can do a very simple evaluation at absolutely no charge to them. And we'll tell them point blank if we can help them or not.
Easy to contact Dennis and his staff at arpwave.com. That's ARPwave.com, all one word. So we'll ask questions a little bit later. Also, last couple of weeks we've had some testimonials from some world-class athletes, a couple of hockey players. I think now we're going to have kind of like an average, everyday guy, just not a world-class, somebody like me who's been helped by the ARP Wave, and we're going to talk to him a little bit later in the show, we hope, too.
I think so, and, the common misconception is that we only work on athletes, and that's the furthest thing in the world from the truth. We work on anyone who is in pain or who has a restricted range of motion. The athletes are just the high credibility factor. They take the headlines, but a guy like we're going to be talking to today, he's more common than normal.
We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. You're listening to the House of Pain, the ARP Wave Clinic here on The Fan.